All right, welcome back. This is EDC Weekly number 2, where you guys get to choose the theme of my everyday carry each week. So this week was all about small and compact, yet very, very functional items. So I have some fun stuff to show you today. This is very much into the kinds of things that I love. So I think you're going to enjoy it. Let's go ahead and get to it. Okay. So let's start with what I've actually been carrying the last couple of days, because I actually have been integrating the small items in my everyday carry. So for starters, I have in a sheath a fixed blade knife. This is made by Deep Cuts Cutlery. It is in Magna Cut steel. Pretty much the best case scenario for fixed blades. On top of that, we of course have the Leatherman Signal. Now these are not small but mighty items. They just happen to be kind of a core to what I do every day when I'm moving around and doing different things. So that's been really enjoyable. Now let's get into the rest of it. So first of all, we have my keys, which I'm using the Night Eyes foot locker. And now this is where we're going to get into the small but mighty. And this is what I want to talk about. So this is my wallet. Now this is a leather wallet by Nova Leather, Southern California. This is called the Oliver. Now I did a brief review of this wallet in the past. It wasn't a very good one, so I figured we'll highlight this as well. The way I decided to categorize small but mighty is that it needs to be small enough to either fit in a wallet organizer or on keychain. That's kind of what I'm thinking makes the most sense for size, because I realize that it's not always about weight or dimension. It can be something very flat. I'm curious to see what you guys think, and we'll maybe discuss that in the comments below. So let's start with what I actually have here. So for starters, I have what I consider to be probably the most efficient multifunctional item that exists. This is the Victorinox Manager. This has a pen in it. It has excellent scissors. It has a Phillips that pretty much seems to work on almost everything. It also works with the Leatherman bit adapter, a blade, a file, a small flathead, tweezers. This is just a phenomenal piece of equipment, and I cannot recommend it enough. On top of that, in the pen slot of this particular organizer, which it actually fits something else, I have the Vero Fulcrum. Now this is the mini Fulcrum in black wash. It has a pocket clip, but you can get it not only with the pocket clip, you can even get it with a keychain adapter. It carries two 4mm bits, and it has an excellent prying end. Even though I kind of like the full size a little bit better, because this fits in so many places, I end up carrying this quite a bit more often. And as you can see, it's very convenient. Now, here's the fun one. I started carrying this a long time ago with this wallet, and you can see I got the shape kind of embedded. This is the, what is this? This is the Cobra Extra Small. So this is the 100mm variant, and it does not come normally like this. This is actually a custom laser job by EDC Outlaw. I'll put a link to his page. He has all kinds of awesome tool modifications, and this just is perfect. After all, it is a Cobra, right? So that is my everyday carry, my small but mighty. And on top of that, we could talk about flashlights. Now, I tend to carry a whole variety of different flashlights. Today, I'm actually carrying the Warrior Mini. But in truth, there are so many keychain flashlights to discuss that I think we need to do that in the section relating to alternatives. So if you want to see the kinds of items that you can add to your keychain, we're going to be talking about that in just a minute. All right, pens. Not exactly a tool, but still an important factor for a lot of people in their everyday carry. And there is a certain dimensional look that people are looking for that makes these so convenient. So this is the Bullet Space Pen, of course, and it is iconic, to say the least. When you open it up, you know, it's very comfortable. It has a pressurized insert, so it writes very, very well. But it's not my favorite, and it's because it's two pieces. I do like that companies today are changing things up, like the Olight O-Pen Mini, where it has a bolt action, but it's really, really small. You have the Big Idea Designs Mini, where it just basically just twists open and close, which I really like as well. Now this can also, you can find pressurized inserts for these, but it comes with a whole bunch of refills as well. For me though, for small items, I find that the Signature series, which is the Signature, the Manager, the Mini Champ, they actually offer the best pen overall because you get all these other components. That's just me. I'm very functional like that. And the reason I think a lot of people don't even account for this pen being of any good is that they don't use it properly. You're supposed to open up one of the other non-sharpened implements, which gives you a resting point. And when this being the dimension it actually is quite nice to write with. Very nice, in fact. I really, really like these, and they're actually pressurized, and they're already blue ink, which I really, really like. So as a backup pen, or even a primary pen, depending on how compact you want to get, I really, really, really adore the 58mm. And even though you will find pens in things like the Victorinox Compact that look like this, I don't find these particularly easy to write with, even with all the tricks that are out there. So for me, the 58mm wins pretty handily, but there are a whole bunch of other varieties of small pens out there you can take a look at. I will do my best to find some, and I will put a link to them in the description. All right, pry tools. Now, there's just so many of them out there. I have quite a few in my collection. I find I use them quite often, and I use them quite often in part because I do a lot of stuff with film fixtures, which have these large flatheads, which kind of need something larger than just a standard screwdriver. So prying tools tend to work very, very well for this. That's a large portion of why I carry it. But I've also found that there's just many instances where there's things I need to do that I don't want to use a blade for, and they work. I also think that they'll hold up better in many cases than a flathead being misused. So here's just some examples. Now, what you will notice about me is that I don't like dedicated prying tools. In other words, I don't want them to just do one thing. They usually have to do at least two things for them to fit into my everyday carry. So in the case of the Fulcrum, this is basically a 4mm screwdriver, okay? And that happens to have the bonus of being a pry tool. A good one, in fact. In the case of the lever gear, I was very skeptical when I got this way back when, but it does function from time to time. And of course, there are many additional functions. It also is genuinely a good money clip with a good spring back. I liked it, and it worked pretty well. But it's not the same, as you can see, shape-wise. So there's some different variants that you can see. This one I haven't reviewed yet, but is very, very different. It's the first one I've seen that is made of 154 cm, but on top of that has been heat treated up to, I believe, 63 HRC, which means that this is technically the same hardness as actual screwdriver bits. And what I found is that this Phillips head that's on the end, it is very, very sturdy, and it doesn't seem like it's going to break anytime soon. There's all these little hidden features in this one. It's got a 4mm driver, a full hex driver, and if you look at these slots, that's for you to take a normal 1/4 inch bit, and then you can actually use it in a T orientation. Now this comes with a bunch of elastics. I don't usually carry them with it, but it's pretty awesome. It also, of course, has a bottle opener and a pry tool. And this is really, really tough, this little piece, but it is compact. Everything here is about the 3-inch, 3.5-inch mark. And that's kind of like the sweet spot for things that can either fit on a keychain, just barely, or can fit in a wallet organizer of some sort. The same thing is kind of true. This is the CJG Designs. This is the Y bar. I really like it for the same reason. It has that Phillips as well as the flathead and the various different other functions. It even has a 1/4 inch driver as well, and this is in full titanium. On top of that, we have some really interesting takes like the Dam Designs. This is the Sidekick, and this is actually a prototype in the current model. It actually has a 4mm driver, but it still has the inline 1/4 inch hex driver with a magnet and everything. It also has a level. It has graduations and so on. So these are really cool, and this is kind of where things are going, and I love it. I like the fact that it's not just a pry tool. For me, I love the fact that it's both a screwdriver and a pry. All of that is good. And then kind of an old school version. Now this is not available, but I thought it'd be worth noting. You can kind of see my philosophy. Prying tool, but really has this universal wrench and a bit driver, and it's a good scale, and it's sharp enough to be used as a ferrocerium striker. There's just, I don't like these items being a single unitasker. They need to do more than that. I don't consider bottle opener being an actual function. That I wouldn't consider that two things. Pretty much I can open a bottle with practically anything, and I mean anything. But these are good examples of the right size, the right dimension, and they all have a little bit of a different form factor. So when we say small but mighty, it might be different for different people. This is just my interpretation. All right, utility knives. Now, this is another small but mighty feature, and I really like utility knives. I feel like if we're being honest with ourselves, most of the things we do every day pretty much are covered by this implement right here. That does not mean you can't improve it more by making it have additional functions. So from left to right, this is designed by Bruce Boone, and it is called the Utilifob. It has a slot for a 4mm driver. It's basically titanium that has been welded together to create all of the mechanical functionality. So the spring action and so on. It has a bit retaining full hex driver as well as a bit retaining 4mm driver. Very cool. I really like that. But once again, lots of additional functionality, not just the original, just one thing, right? And for me to be small but mighty, it has to do a lot in a very small package. Kind of, you know, going back to original design, this is the Gerber EAB, the original variant. Now I have modified it with a thumb stud, but this is what makes this small but mighty is actually the amount of blade real estate that you get, and the fact that it opens up to almost a full 4-finger grip for a lot of people. So this is pretty familiar, and it was very popular. In fact, it still is, only the prices have gone up dramatically. So keep an eye out if you're interested in these, but don't overpay. Be very careful. There's, especially when there's so many good options out there. We'll talk about them in just a second. So the Ruck. This is actually completely made in the United States. The Ruck and the Ruck S. Both made by Giltech. They are phenomenal. You can get the aluminum variant, which is beautiful, direct from Giltech for $30. Beautiful piece. And very functional. It has a 1/4-inch hex driver. It has a small pry tool. Now keep in mind these are aluminum. He has titanium variants, but just be gentle because it is aluminum, not titanium. But very light, very functional. On top of that, you have the one-piece variant. This is called the S model. It does not have a bottle opener, but then again, what do you need a bottle opener for? And it has the pry tool. And in fact, he now has developed a pocket clip for these, which is really cool. So this is a one-piece implement that is one-handed, and he also makes this in left-hand varieties. You can get the aluminum version of this for $20, made in the United States. Take a look at that. All right, now, this is the Exceed Designs flipper utility knife. Just like the EAB, it goes from a very short tool to a very long one. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because in the kit, you'll actually be getting a replacement to this lanyard slot that is a prying tool. So on top of being a utility knife, it will also be a prying tool. And if you ever need to go through security, you can simply just push this out, take the blade out, throw the blade away, and now you can get on your plane and then get where you need to go. And now you can get a blade and replace it. So I love that. I think these are all really good for the most part. I also will mention that Exceed Designs came out with another variant that it looks very deceptively similar to the Ruck, and it should. And actually, I was kind of like iffy about it, but the reason you might want to consider it is he is actually leasing the rights, the patent rights from Giltech. He went through proper channels, and they are actually leasing the rights from Giltech for the technology to make the one-piece tool. So I am all about that. I say go for it. I will put a link to it down in the description. Is the titanium one piece. Now it's more expensive than the Giltech, but it's titanium, and they do make the Giltech S, I believe, in titanium. So either way, you're patronizing Giltech and this other guy. So I'm all about that. I'll put a link to both in the description. But I believe only this one has the pocket clip possibility. Just keep that in mind. I'm then not going to do a full rundown on small knives, but I do want to highlight this one small knife in my collection. I actually purchased this a while back, kind of on a whim, like, yeah, I'll try it. I didn't realize how much I would actually enjoy it. And usually I'm not into small knives, and by small, I mean pretty small. So this is the fixed blade I'm carrying, and this is the Dragonfly from Spyderco. Now this is a limited edition one. This one is in 20 CV, and I got this from, what is it, DLT Trading. What I love about it is you can actually flick it open. It's really easy to use one-handed, and just really, really, really small. Yet, the best part about it is that you get a full 4-finger grip. And even if you have big hands, your pinky can kind of rest on this flat edge. So this was just designed so well. I cannot state enough that if you're into small knives, the Dragonfly is like a necessity. It's just a really, really good design. And it has a completely ambidextrous setup, so you can put the pocket clip on both sides. I'm a huge fan of the wire clip as well. Just something to keep in mind. There's a ton of other small knives out there, but this one in particular, it deserved some attention. My credit card tools. I have a confession. I am obsessed. I am obsessed with small, flat tools. I know they're mostly kind of gadgety, but goddamn, sometimes they just work, and they work really, really well. So I'm not going to go into every detail about these. I just want to state that you may be surprised to find that a lot of these are actually pretty good. The Cold Forge fork and knife set that is sold on Amazon, this thing is excellent. Mostly recycled, actually all recycled metal and aluminum, but giving you the option to have certain things with you given your situation. I cannot state enough how important that can be at times. Right in the Rain, maybe you didn't know, they make a small notebook that fits in a credit card slot. The OTG, they call it, which I love. It's still the same paper, and yeah, small but mighty. Can't say enough about Grim Workshop. They have all kinds of tools. This is actually a navigation card, same size as a credit card, just like all of these, and you'll be able to use them for various different purposes. They even sell fishing line. This is also, by the way, basically very similar to dental floss, but has about 12 feet of fishing line that you could carry with you. So depending on what you're into, or you just need some floss, these can work for you. We know about the Victorinox Swiss card. They've been around for a while. Believe it or not, that's actually the thickest item here. Even the Cold Forged fork and knife are just thinner than the Victorinox Swiss card. This one is the light version, and this is an older version. There's all different types of variants relating to these that you can check out. Do not underestimate them, though. They're not as bad as you think as far as function is concerned. They have tweezers, the pen, the file, the knife. This is mostly for opening packages. Even the magnifier is of use. So check those out. You may be surprised to find that they actually are just enough for what you need. And different variants will have different tools, like this one actually has a nail file and flathead. But you get the idea, okay? On top of that, you have all different types of brands making different components. This is actually a titanium card by MRF called the Smart Ruler. I got this because it's TSA legal, and I was doing a lot of sketching at the time, and this just has so many functions built into it that makes it useful for that type of thing. I mean, yeah, it's excessive to say the least, but I'm obsessed, right? This is the kind of stuff I love a lot. We just talked about the tool card. I'm sorry, this is the, which one is this? I forget the name of it. That's my problem. Yeah, Tool Card Pro. I had it right. So this is all kinds of different functions. It even has a can opener. I like it, and I like it mostly because it does in fact function as a money clip. And the cool thing is that it's short enough, the cards actually stick out a little bit, so you can actually fan them properly. This is a decent minimalist wallet because the clip is actually good. It has good spring back, and it has a wide enough section you can actually fit enough cards in it. So I like that one. So that's it. Cards. Tool cards. I'm obsessed, in case you couldn't tell. Okay, so Keychain Flashlights. Not many I would call mighty, but certainly very compact and functional. So starting from the left, we have AAA flashlights represented by this one. This is the ThruNite TI3 V2. Now this one is very short because it uses a head that is a twisty action, so you don't have to have any functions on the back. The other benefit, of course, is that you can tail stand it. So if you have a diffuser of some sort, or even just the cap of a chapstick tube, you can actually use this to disperse the light over a certain area. Very useful. These flashlights are small, but they're not the smallest ones you can fit in your keychain. One of the other benefits is that you're going to get good waterproof ratings from many of them. Moving on, we have the disc battery sized flashlights. This is the Photon Freedom, and I really like this particular one. This has actually got their night vision bulb. They run about, give or take, between 5 and 20 lumens, depending on the coloration. What I like is they're IP7. They're very easy to use. They are basically indestructible. They are made in the United States. Surprisingly, this has got to be one of my favorite flashlights. It is also currently my favorite flashlight under $100 that is made in the United States. I know that's crazy, but it's the truth. You also have micro USB rechargeable flashlights. So this would be a great example. So this is the Olight I1R2 EOS. It has a micro USB rechargeable. It has a cap that does not come off, which both of the flashlights in this category that are like that have it so that the cap does not come off. And that's a huge feature that I really, really like, because you'd be surprised how easy it is to lose them. This is 150 lumens max, and it actually has two modes, 5 and 150. Once again, twisty, and it's very, very short. Very easy to put on a keychain, and yet very, very useful. Now, well, you know what? Before we get to that, let's go to this one. So this is the Mech Army X7S modular flashlight. But basically what it is the same thing as the I2R, which is this. It has the ability to replace its batteries. It comes with some keychain adjustments, so you can just carry it just like that. But this particular one also has a lighter. Now I did put fuel in it. Okay. But very, very useful to have these functions together, I find, and I like the size. You can then mix and match them any way you want. It has the same design where you basically have a non-removable head and a micro USB recharging. So you can actually recharge the battery right there. Very, very slick and easy to use. And these are also IPX8. Waterproof rating is very important to me when it comes to keychain lights, because if I leave it in the washing machine or whatever, I would like to have a small chance of it surviving. Which brings us to the powerhouses of the keychain world, and that is the Rovivon Aurora series. So this is the A5X on the left and the A1X on the right. This is a $20 flashlight. This is, I believe, just over $35. You get a lot of extra functions with this, but I really want to focus on the A1X and why this is such a good flashlight, but then has a couple of caveats. So this flashlight, which by the way is barely the size of a AA battery. In fact, let me see if I can find one of those. All right, well, I couldn't find a AA, but here's the AAA. So you can see just how small we're talking here. Really, really small. Okay? Yet, compared to a AAA, this has 650 lumens of output in instantaneous mode. That's just redonkulous. So to access it on this particular flashlight, which is a great example, you just hold press and you get momentary turbo, which is all you really need when you need a lot of lumens like that. So from a safety perspective, having a flashlight this powerful on your keychain is quite phenomenal. Here's the problem, and this is the problem with pretty much every keychain flashlight that's like this one. The problem is, on some level, they give up waterproof rating for the addition of the micro USB. Almost all of them have a silicone cap like this one, whether it's Nitecore or some other brand. And because of that, they have an IPX rating of about 6, which isn't terrible. Certainly you can get it wet in the rain and it's not going to be a problem. But if you submerge it, there's always a pretty substantial risk of it getting damaged. I would love to see Rovivon go the same direction as the screw cap that has the recharging port underneath. In other words, making this portion much longer, maybe moving the button backwards a little bit, and then to accommodate that feature. What's also neat is you press once, nothing happens. So accidental press for this doesn't do anything. In order to turn it on, you have to double press to come into whatever mode is saved last. And then you can cycle through with a single press and then hold press to turn it off. Very simple UI, and it even has a strobe with 3 presses. So just a strobe warning, turn away now. So triple press gives you a strobe. It's a 650 lumen strobe. So for a keychain light that is for safety, this has got to be the winner. And at only $20, even with the waterproof rating, as of right now, it's pretty much as powerful as it gets in the smaller packages, as you can imagine. I think this is about 15 grams. So gram for gram, I don't think there's a more powerful flashlight out there right now that you can purchase, especially not one at this price point. Well, I hope you enjoyed this EDC Weekly. There won't be another one next week. Next week is Thanksgiving. But I want to thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions or you have some suggestions about small items that I missed, please leave them down in the description. It's always quite helpful to me to learn about new things. So thanks again for your time, and we'll see you again soon.